It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You could find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting. If you contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. If you like our show, be sure and check out the Patreon, Opperman Report Patreon. Always new content going up there. A lot of exclusive stuff, too, as well. And a lot of free content, too. Whenever something comes up in the news, I can get a hold of a document or something like that. I'll put it up there for you. Archives are free. Spreaker.com. Go to Spreaker.com. And you can hear all of our past shows are up there at Spreaker. There's a chat room. You get an email notification when I put up new content. And by the way, back on Patreon, too, all that content is ad and commercial free. There's no ads, there's no commercial. And we really need your support to keep the show on the air if we're going to keep doing this. Okay, if I'm going to keep doing this nonsense anymore, because it's just getting crazy out there. And trying to put my phone on mute because I went and I signed up for that new thread. Or is it Threads? I forget what it's called. Let me see. Oh, I think it is Threads. Yes, it is Threads, which is the Instagram new competitor to Twitter, because Twitter's just gotten so ridiculous lately with all the right-wing nonsense going up on Twitter. And just all the craziness that's on Twitter these days, too. It's just even people I don't follow that are just nuts, just flood my Twitter feed. And it's just so discouraging, to see things that I've been reporting on since 2013, 2012, and just such irresponsible, unstable people just making things up off the top of their heads, just sitting around imagining things, or reading, real people's books, or Googling things, and then just coming up with these wild interpretations, their own dream fantasy world. It's just heartbreaking to see what's going on out there. And it just makes it, for me, just so exhausting to even want to bother putting out real content for you. I'm traveling right now, okay? And, I'm traveling, and I can't even tell you where I'm traveling to because I got so many crazy people out there I'm dealing with. But I'm traveling, and I was in a couple of Airbnbs. Audio was good at one place. Audio wasn't so good at the other place. Where I'm staying right now, the internet is so slow that I can't do a live show. Right now I'm recording this for you. And it's very difficult to tape interviews because the sound quality is not good enough. And, of course, all the hacking and stuff I got to deal with all the time anyway with the settings on my studio. That I got to just deal with on a regular basis, just, when I'm not traveling. That doesn't end, when I'm traveling. So I have lined up a lot of real serious guests, real stuff, real people involved with real things in real life. Oh, God. But I have a couple of series of interviews I plan to do with these people. I hope to do. If I'm going to continue doing this at all. Because I got to say, I'm very, very discouraged. I'm discouraged that the support on Patreon went down again last month. I'm not the only person that gets funded by that. We too have other people too that help upload shows and edit shows and things need support. And it's just very discouraging to see that we get no support, and then just people just make things up, make up crazy, wild stories out of the top of their head. And they're getting all the support. Or people with obvious, government intel paid off opposition, out there just getting money poured on their heads. So it's very discouraging. There was a thing that came out in the news this week. Not in the news. It came out like on TikTok and Reels and YouTube. This woman who was riding on an American Airlines flight, and I guess she was caused a disturbance, and she was getting up and she was leaving the plane, and some people started to videotape her on their phones, And she started saying, I'm getting off this MFR plane, and I'll tell you why, because there's a guy back there, and he's not real. He's not real. And you're all going to die in this plane. I'm getting off. Right? And people see this on a video, and they say, oh, my goodness, what did she see? He must have been an AI robot, or he must be a shapeshifter reptilian. Even that nut, David Icke, comes out and says, oh, people said this. She never said anything about a shapeshifter reptilian. She just said he wasn't real. Okay? And it's, oh, and she's kind of slurring her words a bit that would present some kind of indications. Perhaps she had, taken some kind of tranquilizers or alcohol or some kind of mood-altering substances for the plane. A lot of people do that. I drink when I fly. I'll take a Unisom sometimes when I fly if I want to sleep. Some people take Valium or Xanax when they fly for their nerves. They're nervous, and then this is a possibility. Then another fellow came out with a TikTok, a video, where he claims, I was on the same plane and I saw this, and the guy turned around and he winked at me, but he didn't wink up and down, he winked sideways. But the thing is, the fellow that put out that video, the original fellow, clearly said this is a joke, and I'm doing this to see how many people can be fooled. But now people are spreading that as if it's real. Now, if any of us were sitting on a subway platform or a subway train or a plane or a crowded location, and it happens all the time, right? People start screaming and rambling crazy things, and they sound a little slurred, and we see it, and we don't say, oh my goodness, maybe there is maybe there is an alien in the room with us, whatever this person's screaming about. Maybe the aliens did kill JFK, or, we've all been there, and we've all heard crazy people screaming crazy things. But it's not until we see it in a video that we think, oh, maybe this is real. What really happened? We need to interview this woman and find... If you saw this happen in real life, would you stop and think, oh boy, I need to interview this person and see what they saw? Even if it was a friend of yours. Okay? They started screaming crazy things after a party or something. You wouldn't say, oh, let me interview them, put them on the show. No, you dismiss it. Oh, this is a shame. My poor friend is confused. Let me take her home and sober up, That's what we do in real life, but because we see a video, it's somehow it's another reality. And we somehow treat it like it's real, or I don't know why. It's terrifying, to tell you the truth. It's terrifying that this is what's becoming. That people are just falling for the most wildest, craziest stories. That JFK Jr. is not really dead. He's going to run for president with Trump. All this crazy stuff. Trump's really president. He took over he signed the military back in 2018. And all this crazy stuff out there that people are just consuming and regurgitating as reality. And this is terrifying. I remember back during the October 1st shooting in Las Vegas, the Mandalay Bay shooting. There was a video, taking of a cab driver with a person in a cab, and they heard some, echoes of the shooting. And everyone was telling me, Ed, you got to interview that cab. I know 100 people who were there that day. I'm going to interview this guy just because it's on tape. It's on a YouTube. And people, I even had I guess I could talk about it. I had a guy hire me to locate that cab driver for them, because they got to verify the video, the YouTube. Because somehow, when you point a camera at something, it makes it more real. Or somehow these crackpots and characters out here with their YouTube channels and their podcasts, just because they bought a microphone, put it in front of their face, that somehow we should care what they have to say, like they've done something in their life, like they've really been involved in something in their life. But But yet I got to deal with people. I can't, there's no point in me doing this show anymore. It's just in a sea of bullshit out there. Okay, it's just me screaming into a microphone in a sea of complete and utter bullshit. That somehow, all it does is discredit me and make me look like I'm one of these nuts. What am I doing? This is crazy. And all it does is put a bullseye on my back and my head, and I got to deal with crazy people. Even, some of the listeners that are well-meaning, they're good people, still think that just because they hear my voice on the radio that it's normal for them to try and call me up at home. And, none of this is worth it. None of this is worth it. What I'm doing at this point. Maybe 5-7 years ago when the information I was bringing to you was new. But now we've got 100 people out there just regurgitating all the stuff I brought you 10 years ago, and, some of them are freaking working for the government. Openly. You can find it by Googling it. So, I don't know. I don't know what to do with all that. Yeah, but anyway, the way that that rant came about was that I was mentioning about how I signed up to Threads, the new Instagram, as a competitor to Twitter, And I was warning you about Twitter years ago. For some reason, we elevate these Twitter people, and somehow we think they have something to teach us or tell us just because they have 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers, whatever. That somehow, that means something. I remember, what's his name? Pierce Redman used to come on the show and talk about these Twitter people, and I'd say, who's that? What did he do? Why should I care what that person has to say? They're a filmmaker, Jack Proziak, these people, Anyway, this is what's become of our society. Now we have a new one out there, Threads. And it's kind of interesting because it's tied to your Instagram account. So you can do this thing where you can follow or invite or something everybody from Instagram now to your Threads. But the problem with that is that now every second I got a notification from this damn Threads telling me that someone's following me or accepted my follow, whatever it is they're telling me. And then I go look at them. I don't even know who these people are. Who's this? I knew this person on Instagram. I have no idea who they are. So I'm seeing that. But then the other thing, too, is the notification chime. It's the exact same chime that they give you on Tinder when somebody matches you with you on Tinder or they send you a message on Tinder. So now, I don't know if you know this, but when you travel, if you have a Tinder account and you travel, when you're in a new city or a new state, you get a lot of activity on your Tinder because all people, they're seeing your picture in your profile for the first time. So a whole bunch of people start well, at least with me, with my picture. I don't know about you, but I get a lot of contact from that. So now I'm in a new town, so I got all these Tinder hits every 5 seconds, and I got all these Thread hits like every second. Like, I'm getting like 30, 40 a minute, an hour. Oh my God. So anyway, there's that situation. I'm traveling. I really can't tape. I think I'm going back home this week. And then we have to make some big decisions on what I'm going to be doing with my life and with my future. But I'm very, very, I'm not optimistic at all about what I see out there and what was once called the truth movement or alt media, now it's the bullshit, it's what can I make up? What can I make up that sounds more thrilling and outrageous than the last guy who made something up? I can remember 10 years ago, people would be talking about Nibiru, when there was an upcoming, Y2K and all that kind of stuff. And now it's just this constant barrage of pedophilia, Epstein. There's this new film out, The Sound of Freedom. And someone has to explain this to me. And people are telling me it has some kind of connection to QAnon and to Michael Flynn. I'm not sure. I see this chatter going on around me about this film. I contacted the film company. What's it called? About getting a screener and having somebody come on the show. But I understand it's really easy to get free tickets for this thing, so maybe someone has to have a free ticket, they can send it to me. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Maybe like the thing is, dude, we're eating such crap here. It's the name of the company is Angel Films or something like that. So I contacted them about getting a screener to check this thing out and trying to find out what the connection is to Michael Flynn and QAnon and stuff. So let's see what's going on with that. But again, too, that this hysteria about this topic and adrenochrome and all this craziness, it's just become hopeless. It's just become a hopeless situation with a bunch of hucksters and grifters and weirdos that have just come in and consumed this topic. And it's a shame, too, because, I was following along and someone had posted some nonsense today, and I says, hey, I know that guy. He's crazy. He's full of it. And then I went later on that page, and they were talking about the Franklin cover-up. And, I just played an interview with Tim Tate, the guy who did the film, Conspiracy of Silence. I just exclusive interview with, what's his name, Henry Vincent or Frank Vincent, the fellow who was the undertaker, the mortician, ran the funeral parlor. That he used his credit card machines to pay off. He was the DC madam. Hey guys, these are the people involved. I would post the link to the show, but they were off on some fantasy about the children under the Getty, like nonsense. What are you doing? You going to argue with somebody? Okay, go do what you want to do, man. You're just making a fool out of yourself, discrediting yourself, and whatever cause you're trying to advance, So there's that. I'm very discouraged. I got to say, I'm very discouraged. I'm playing a show tonight after this with a couple of people I really respect. One is Casey Gane McGalla about Epstein, Chris Tucker, and Michael Jackson. 3 topics I'm very familiar with. And then also then with Daniel Hopsicker, too, who wrote we talk about his life and his work, but also, too, we get into some stuff, too. Daniel's been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and he's in a hospice right now. And, 2 guys I really respect, out there doing great work, putting their neck on the line to bring the truth out. And now we have a circus, desecrating anybody's good work that's out there with this foolishness and this nonsense and this self-promotion and stupidity. I'm sorry I cursed earlier. I try to make a point not to on the show. But what are you going to do, man? If you see, 2 dogs fornicating in the street, you describe what you see. And that's just what this is. I was going to name tonight's show about the coke found in the White House. The White House Coke. Maybe I'll call the show White House Coke. They found some cocaine in the White House. That's the first time cocaine's ever been in the White House. So it had to be Hunter Biden, of course, right? That's what all the right-wing pundits, the conclusion they've come to. Well, I have my own sources, as you know, and I've determined that the source of the cocaine discovered in the White House traces back to a drug-sniffing dog who works at the White House. But if I would have to guess, I would say U.S. Secret Service. As you know or don't know, I was involved in the congressional investigation to the U.S. Secret Service. Oh, boy, what year was that? I don't even know. Under Obama. That's how long ago that was. And came into contact with a lot of... that was... who cares? No one listens anyway, That's another thing, too. No one really pays attention. But the U.S. Secret Service are hard partying guys. I've done several shows on it, and they were, when they were doing security at the Olympics in Utah there, in Salt Lake City, Utah, they had teenage girls at these parties, 16-year-old kids who were giving them alcohol and using drugs. Over and over, getting kicked out of bars, not being banned from bars, like in Martha's Vineyard when, I forget, I think it was when Bill Clinton would go to Martha's Vineyard, they were being banned from Martha's Vineyard. Waking up in the street with their gun and their badge gone, all these kind of stories over and over and over came out in the reports. Another big one was this Secret Service agent who went to her child's school in full SWAT gear to pick up her child when there was a custody dispute with her husband. So the U.S. Secret, and they can cover that up now too, because that would be a national security issue, and they wouldn't be able to reveal that it was U.S. Secret Service. But if I had to guess who in the White House left behind some coke, I would say it would be one of the Secret Service agents. Or one of the workers, Trust me, Hunter Biden is not the only one there using coke, that's for sure. Although there was some video of him the other day, man, when he was just wasted at some kind of White House event or public event. He was just tweaking, mind-blowingly tweaking. I don't know why we can't talk about it, because... one said you're a capitalist, and with your own, what was it the other day? Someone was talking about, Joe Biden showering with his daughter, Ashley, and how she put in her diary that she believed that had an effect on her drug addictions. And people saying, well, what about Trump, saying he wanted to sleep with his daughter? Because it just came out recently that he used to talk about it in front of his aides and in front of, I think, General Kelly. He used to talk about it in front of. And my first thing, well, how come nobody talks about this kind of stuff in front of me? Because they know they wouldn't be my friend anymore. I would quit my job. I'm not going to work with somebody saying stuff like that. But okay, they stayed. Okay, whatever. What does that say about you? Not, that they would stay and work with somebody like that. But how, my capitalist is better than your capitalist. Okay. So if Trump can do it, but Biden can't, or Biden can do it, but Trump can't. It's just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. But that's just what we become, the mindless idiots. It's just a hopeless situation. And then, I have just no hope for the future or for people's critical thinking or anything. They just want to believe the most wildest conspiracy, the most wildest theory, those soap opera theories, of hysteria. Just, what are you going to do? So anyway, that's and then one of these. I was listening to on the radio today. One of these right-wing radio guys was talking about. Well, first of all, we don't know how much coke was found there in the White House, but I can't believe it was that much. People are saying 8-ball, And this guy says, well, if it was 5 grams of base cocaine, then there would be a 5-year penalty. You know that, right? Well, in D.C., cocaine possession is a misdemeanor. The federal DEA is not going to step in, or the FBI is not going to step in and take this case for this little handful of coke, no matter where it was. It's probably more like a spoonful of coke, tiny little amount, like a dime bag or something. But what are you going to do, man? It's just and base cocaine is freebase. We would smoke, because then that would even be, 5 grams of base cocaine is a lot of coke. Yeah, that's a lot of coke. It's a couple ounces of coke. I'd have to do the math and look it up. But, the equivalent of a lot of coke. Anyway, who cares, right? And not a word that comes out of my mouth is going to change a damn thing. It's not going to change a person's mind. It's not going to educate anybody. Because people, they're too want to hear the BS. Okay, back to the notes. My all important notes. Scott Peterson. Okay, I said some stuff last week. I forget how it came up, but I tried to explain my involvement with the Peterson case, and again, people get it all wrong. No, I didn't work for Garagos. Okay, I never worked for Gloria Allred during the Peterson case. Never worked for Gloria Allred at all. We've had clients in common. So then people said, well, Ed, if you didn't work for Gloria Allred during the Peterson case and you didn't work for the prosecution, then you must have worked for Mark Garagos. No, I did not. Mark Garagos has seen my work because of during that period of time, and he did refer clients to me, but I've never worked for Garagos. Garagos did work in partnership with Michael Avenatti, and Michael Avenatti got 15 years, and Garagos just walked right away. So you tell me what went on there. I don't know. But no, I never worked for Garagos. And by the way, too, Garagos, then I believe Garagos referred me to some people around the Michael Jackson controversy. And I was hired there a couple of first of all, I don't know everybody that hires me. If they hire me through the website, I can't tell. They has to use somebody else's credit card. It could be a member of the Jackson family could have hired me to trace an email. And I wouldn't know that for a fact unless I saw them talking about Larry King. Okay. One time I'm sitting home, right, and I'm watching one of these court TV shows, Curtis Court or Judge Joe Brown, I forget it was, and the litigant starts waving this piece of paper up, and it says, and we traced their email back to an online dating website, and we caught her cheating online. And I look and my ears perk up because I invented that search. That's my search. So he had to get that information from me, and anyway, it was a lot more happened after that. So anyway, I'm just so exhausted. I'm just so losing all motivation to do this. If I do quit all this, I'll wait at least until September. Okay, and just so it'll be like an even 10 years, or it might be 11 years, I forget what it is. But I started the show in September, so if I quit, I'll quit in September. And if I'm thinking of quitting PI work too, by the way, too. Because again, first, the clients I attract now are just, they're all from the radio and just all into this crazy stuff. But this stuff I can still do, but not like this though. Anyway, there was some stuff about Scott Peterson on a new trial. I'm just going to move on from it. Marjorie Taylor Greene was booted from the Freedom Caucus, and it was about a week ago this happened. That's because of her latest activities of trashing people. And her behavior and her support of McCarthy, Kevin McCarthy, and the leadership there. So I almost feel like taking a break. But one other thing that came up this week, too, is that Trump is saying he no longer wants behind the scenes. He's saying that he doesn't want to use Kerry Lake for VP anymore. Marjorie Taylor Greene was being floated as VP too. I think he wants a woman. And then he's been floating Kerry Lake. But a quote came out that she's a spotlight hound. Okay, so now he doesn't want to use her. So that's interesting. I wonder who would even get on the VP ticket with Trump at this point. Because it's looking worse and worse with all these indictments. They had been able to postpone the guilty plea for that fellow, his manservant, the valet, Odd Job, whatever his name is. I think this guy was like a Navy SEAL or something, too. Then he worked for Trump as his butler. And he got caught, with these boxes of secret documents all over the place. Now he's being charged as co-defendant with Trump. I think his name is Naught, something along those lines. And he hasn't been able to plead guilty or not guilty in this case because he hasn't been able to come up with an attorney that was licensed in Florida that would take his case. He had a D.C. attorney that's being paid by the Trump PAC, and for some reason they were unable to find an attorney willing to take his case down in Florida. He just recently did. He came up with this law firm that went down there and appeared, but they have no experience whatsoever in federal cases or this type of case. Now, that's not all that unusual. If you have an attorney and they're not licensed to practice in a certain state, what you could do is you hire a local attorney. You pay them a very, very small fee. They get a very small. They don't get a big percentage of the case. If it's a personal injury type case, if there's like a settlement behind it, they get a very small percentage. But in order to file your lawsuit in that state or in that country, you'll hire a local guy and pay him a few bucks. So that's not unusual. A lot is being made of this in the press, that this is something usually unusual for this woman not to have any experience, but that's not a big deal at all. His real attorney will appear there, and she'll be the attorney of record there locally, but his real attorney will speak. So there's that. What was I going to say about that? I had something I was going to say about that. Just like a private investigator would do the same thing, too. If there's a state where you're required to be licensed in, so you can hire someone there sub rosa to represent you there and work under their license temporarily if there's a case there locally. And just pay them a few bucks. It's not a big deal at all. That's another common thing, too, as well. Now, I would recommend to Trump that since he can't get Kerry Lake, he doesn't like her, and he doesn't like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Britney Spears has been in the news in the last 24 hours, so how about her? She's as batshit crazy as he's on it too, right? She's every bit as crazy as them, so she should be the one. Oh, no, Ed, leave Britney alone. Oh, Ed, free Britney. Ed, don't you have any idea of the conditions of her conservatorship? Do you know how strict it was, Ed? We need to free Britney. Go Sam Lufty. Free Britney. Boy, listen. It actually was. It's coming out now that she kind of slapped herself. She came out in the news in the past 24 hours, and she wanted to get a picture taken with this basketball player. So she was chasing him into a restaurant, and he had security with him, and she was like kind of tapping him on the shoulder, and and his security went and intervened, and she said the security guard slapped her. But in the video, it appears that she slapped herself accidentally. And it's been investigated by the police, and there's no charges. Charges will not be filed against anybody. Or perhaps Britney will press charges against herself. Listen, here's the thing, okay? Britney Spears is a troubled woman. She was a troubled child. She's a troubled woman. I know certain things about her childhood that's, it's not widely known in the public. But I know certain things that, she's gone through. I've dealt with people around her personally, firsthand, in real life. Okay, I know that's not as good as a guy who's watched a videotape and saw something on it and says, "Oh, she's MK Ultra." I know it's not as good as that. But I have dealt firsthand in real life, in reality, with people around her. And Britney's a troubled woman, okay, who needs supervision. Okay, this is not going to end well. I'm very well aware of the conditions of her supervision. And it was very strict supervision. And there probably was additional requirements there and provisions in that conservatorship due to her amount of money that she generates. And there's a lot of hands in people's pockets. That's just a normal thing that goes on in big money cases. There's a lot of people with their hands out, and people who need to be greased and stuff. And that's just life, okay? And I know it's a lot easier to explain away saying, oh, it's MK Ultra and all this stuff. Based on what, I don't know, okay? If you look at some of the people around her, I think you can see what the issues are. Substances are the issue. One issue, at least. There's substances that cause extreme paranoia, that cause being awake for days, And this is not a secret. Let's see how we're doing on time. Okay, let's pause for a second. Okay, I know what I was going to talk about. Okay. One of the other things that came out this week was that Fukushima is that the Federal International Nuclear Waste people, whatever it is, commission agency, said that, hey, it's okay, you guys can release some of that nuclear radioactive water that you've been using to cool Fukushima for the past 10 years. You can release it into the ocean. I got to tell you, remember, by the way, too, 10 years ago when Fukushima first happened, and we heard about this, and people were saying that all sea life was dead, that all sea life, all fish was contaminated now with radiation. You couldn't eat it. But it was even better, too. People were saying, I will no longer eat sushi. Okay, because now get this. The theory is because Fukushima is in Japan and sushi is a recipe or a dish that was originated in Japan, that sushi made in the United States, let's say on the East Coast, okay, let's say on the East Coast where you get your fish at the South Street Seaport, fish that comes out of the Atlantic Ocean, not out of the Pacific near the Fukushima, but even fish that comes out of that water, you're not going to eat it because if it goes into a Japanese recipe, it must be radiated from Fukushima. Okay, man. Okay. Hey. This is what we're dealing with here. I remember one time I was in the supermarket. It was right around this time, too. Because one of the station I was on back then, too, was huge on Fukushima. It was the end of the world, Fukushima. That Kerry Cassidy came out with a show about Fukushima where she had this theory that the Israelis were involved in sabotaging the Fukushima plant. And she had this guy on who was her expert, who turned out to be a total nut, that later on came out with that disappearance of that plane, and he had information about the disappearance of the plane, and there was a cell phone that was, somehow was able to stay charged for 8 days, and took a picture of these coordinates of, Diego Garcia, island air base of it, all kind of nonsense. So she's the one that started this hysteria about Fukushima, and then all the other guys started picking up on it. And I remember one time I'm in the supermarket, and I saw this young woman, like college age, and she was with this fellow, a little older than college age, and he was in a wheelchair. And it was clear the guy didn't get out that much. She was taking him grocery shopping to pick out some food. And you could tell by the way she was talking to him that she kind of had pity on him. She had empathy for this young man. And she was saying, well, how about this? Would you like to buy this? She was helping him grocery shop. So I guess he didn't get out much. You could tell by the way he was dressed and his haircut. He was just one of those people that don't get out much. I was in an Uber today, and I was telling the driver about how when I used to drive car service back on Staten Island there for a few months when I was out on bail for the marijuana charges, that I would pick up these people. They'd never left. They were shut-ins. They'd never leave their house, except for once a month to go visit their doctors. And, I would talk to them, and I'd help them up the stairs and down the stairs. It was icy and stuff like that. And then they would start calling up the dispatcher and ask, can I have that nice young man come pick me up again, the one from the last time with the beard? And then I'd have to take these people again. And then the dispatchers would laugh at me. Oh, Ed, another one asked for you. Oh, my God. So anyway, this young girl took sympathy on this man, and she was taking him shopping, and so maybe it was a caretaker position she had with this fellow. Who knows? And they went to the frozen section, and he goes, no. All seafood is poisoned with radioactivity from Fukushima. And I looked over, and I says, oh, man, this guy's listening to those crazy people on the radio, that I got to deal with, and he believes it. This is someone who believes this crap, and look how it's affecting his life. There's a real person in real life being harmed by the garbage people put out just because they want a lot of views and notoriety, and they want people clicking their little stories and their tweets and stuff for whatever reason. Because let me tell you something, the more you get that attention from those kind of people, it makes your life hell. Okay? When these people are really have their attention focused on you, trust me. Okay, it's not like when you're out there buying a bunch of hits and tweets and shit. Okay, like when you really got them, when these are real people, it's a real problem. Okay, it's amazing to me too. When I first went on Twitter, it was right after I was on True. I was a guest on True, and I think they talked me into going on Twitter, bastards. So and I go on Twitter, and because I only had like a couple of thousand people before I started actually using Twitter, and right away it started growing real fast. And I would see these people on Twitter who had like 25, 50,000 followers, right? And I said, well, gee whiz, look at these guys. Boy, their little YouTube channel, or their YouTube channel has like, 50,000 followers and all these views. And I'd say, wow, boy, I've never heard of this guy. How does he have all these followers and all of this stuff? What is going on here? Meanwhile, all these people knew me with my little 2,000 followers. Meanwhile, all these people knew exactly who I was. They all knew about me. They knew about the show and making comments about me and stuff like that. How does that work? How does that work? It just makes no sense. None of this stuff is real. Guys, if you don't realize this by now, if there's someone out there listening to this, okay, and you think that all these folks who showed up and they're experts on the Jeffrey Epstein case, and meanwhile, they don't know a damn person who's really involved. They're not reading books, they're not Googling, and that's how they get their information. You could do the same exact thing, okay? The only difference is that they're good at promoting their stupidity on Twitter with followers and likes and doing all that nonsense. But trust me, man, these guys got no information for you, okay? No information. And you would be, I've talked about it a million times. How many times these people, they're talking about my case. I'll contact them privately. I'll say, hey, that's my case. Would you like to talk about it? Nope. Not interested. Too busy tweeting. Anyway, so Fukushima came out in the news. They're going to be releasing some radioactive material there. Who knows? Okay, maybe this time all the fish will die. Okay, but I know they've been talking about these fish being dead for 10 years. Hasn't happened yet, so let's see what happens there. Let's see. I'm hoping my car's actually, well, not my car, my daughter's car is in the shop getting fixed. So I'm hoping we can get it tonight, otherwise we're going to have to rent the car. Well, one of the things I've been telling you about this article in Axios online, and it's called Off the Rails Meeting at Trump's White House. And it's about this crazy meeting that took place over there with Giuliani and Patrick Byrne from Overstock.com and Sidney Powell and some other folks, a bunch of people too with Trump's real attorneys and stuff like that. I'm sure like real people that work in the White House were also at this meeting too. Well, our illustrious prosecutor, Mr. Smith, is now calling all those people in to talk to them too. The special prosecutor there, Jack Smith, and he's subpoenaing these people. He's bringing them in. What's Patrick Byrne actually went on Twitter and said, "Hey man, I'll come in and talk to you. I'll tell you everything I know." But there's stuff that comes out from Patrick Flynn's and Patrick Byrne's own employees. And by the way, too, I've had people on the show, like Patrick Berg. He knows all those folks. I've had him on the show, and he told us a lot of behind-the-scenes information about that meeting and some people, too, as well. You can find it in the archives. Someone who's actually involved. You can actually hear him talk to you and say what happened in real life, if anybody cared. So Patrick Flynn, though, man, one of his assistants went on a podcast and was talking about Patrick Flynn saying that he spent $500,000 to overturn the Biden coup. And he was actually encouraging people to take up arms. People don't realize how close we came to things really, really, really getting bad. There's some things that I'll be talking about in the near future. And, of course, there's people I'll be bringing on, too, to talk about stuff. That's pretty much all I can think of. Maybe I can scroll through, see if anything came up recently. Oh, yeah. pretty much the same old crap. I don't think I got anything here. Oh, O.J. Simpson had a heart attack. They had to give him a stent. It was a few weeks ago. I forgot to tell you about that. I think it's just starting to come out in the press now. If you haven't seen it. Let's see. I got an email back from the screen. Oh, good. Okay. Sound of Freedom sent me a screener. So I got that right now. Too bad I couldn't have a chance to watch it before I do the show tonight. But maybe I'll do a special show just about this. And I only got a couple of days to watch it. I got to watch this thing immediately. The next 24 hours or so. But they're cool. I'll watch the thing and I'll come back. Maybe I'll do a special show about that. Keep in mind, too, we're doing that in cooperation with the May Brussels Project. We're playing the May Brussels archives on. I've been doing it Sunday mornings. I might start doing it Saturday mornings, too. It's been very, very popular. And the way to listen to those old archives of May Brussels from the 70s and the 80s is you go to Spreaker.com, Opperman Reports, Spreaker.com. And there's a portion on there we can see all my podcasts. And I have a bunch of people, other hosts and stuff that I've put up there and hosted their shows for them. It's not going to be like in the body of my work. You have to look for the May Brussels Project. And then you'll find that there. Okay, let's see. How we're doing on time. Because I still got to cook dinner. Where are we? I can't look at the clock. 7:40. All right, maybe I'll end early. I'll put the thing on pause here, see if I come up with anything else I want to talk about, and then we'll end early. Yeah, I can't find much more I'd like to talk to you about tonight. Off the top of my head or just off the notes I've been putting together. So stay tuned for Daniel Hopsicker and Casey Gay McGowan, 2 different shows. And that's about it. And I can't lie and tell you I'm not discouraged. I am discouraged. I feel like the last 10 years of my life have been a waste. That I've wasted all this time and work and effort just to find myself in a clown show, a clown car, with a bunch of clowns. And hopeless. All right, guys. Thank you so much.